My name is Charlie Parr. I'm a folk singer from Duluth, Minnesota. I started playing the guitar when I was about 8 years old, but I didn't really start performing until the late 80s, mid to late 80s. I haven't had a job now in 14 years, so I've been able to do this without doing much of anything else for that long. My dad's record collection was weird and eclectic, and it had the thing that got me started playing the guitar were three records that he had. One was Lightnin' Hopkins' Blues in the Bottle. One was Mance Lipscomb's Texas Songster record on our Hooli. And the other one was a live record from Albert King called Live Wire Blues Power. That I listened to those three records over and over again. And the rest of his collection was great. There's a lot of real old country and western, some old folk music, some Woody Guthrie, Lead Belly stuff. So there's a lot of amazing stuff in there. And that led me on trips to the library to dig for other things. He had a couple of volumes of the Harry Smith anthology, which, led me to go digging for blues guitar players, like Mississippi John Hurt and some of those guys. And that style, Mance Lipscomb and Mississippi John Hurt, really was the style that I started trying to figure out how to play. And it's still what I'm trying to figure out how to play. So. When I first started trying to figure out how to play, I just played all the time. I just didn't want to do anything else. And it made such a feeling within me that I kind of became an addict to doing, just having a guitar around, being able to touch it and play it and make sounds, much less songs. I was fascinated by that from right away. So I don't know that, I had opportunities come along that I was really lucky to have, and I took them. And like I said, I haven't worked in a while because this is what I wanted to do, but if nobody wanted to hear me do this, I would be doing it anyway. I just have to have a job, I suppose, to supplement my income. So far in my life, the death of my father has been the thing that impacted me the most. And I had two children since then, and that's been a massive impact. But losing my dad in 1995, and I was 20-something, 25, 26 by then. But, I didn't get enough time with him. And I hadn't written an original song up until that point. I was just concerned with trying to learn how to play songs that had been recorded by these old guys. And when my dad died, the way I dealt with grief, it started coming out in songs. I started writing songs. And that had a massive impact on me. And I think that to this day, that kind of remains like the musical thing that happened to me that changed everything. And I guess for some, in a good way, I don't know what would have happened. He would have passed sooner or later. He was 72. He died of cancer. He didn't have a good death. He was kind of taken apart, by doctors and not really put back together again, and then died. So it was hard. The new record's called Dog. And it's kind of it's a set of songs that I wrote kind of thinking about the last year. I've had a lot of road time the last year and had some dealings with depression and some other things that have come up in my life, and a lot of these songs kind of came from more personal spaces than songs before that came from. Not that. Well, that's hard because the songs for me always come from personal spaces, so that's not really right. But these songs all kind of have a more of a kind of personal edge to them, I think. But it was a fun record to record. Some friends of mine just sat down and we just sat down and recorded it. We played the whole record live, basically, in a studio in Minneapolis, and I was pretty thrilled with the way it all turned out. I think it has kind of a real live and spontaneous feel to it. There's more improvisational moments on this record than I've ever had on any other record before. I'm happy with that. the resonator guitar and the 12 string have been the things that I've been most interested in for a long, long, long time. And I get around a little bit on the banjo, not as much as I want to be playing the banjo. And in the last year, I've really gotten interested in the electric guitar. But I haven't found a space where the electric guitar and me can communicate very well yet, because it is a different instrument. I mean, when I came to the guitar, I came to an acoustic guitar. I didn't bother with an electric guitar for a long time, and recently I've managed to get a hold of one, and I've so far I've kind of liked what I've found. But that's the beauty part about, for me, about guitar in general, is that each one has a voice of its own, and you have to find where your style fits in with its voice, if that makes any sense. I don't know that there's a process so much. Songs kind of show up in a way that it's hard to really define what they're doing. They just kind of show up. I usually start by writing down kind of the idea behind the lyrics, what I want, the story, if there is a story that the song might or might not tell. It gets kind of written down into a little short story and then distilled into a song. And musically, there's I play the guitar kind of a lot, and you end up with these little shards, fragments of things that are interesting and get fleshed out or borrowed, like a lot of folk music. It's a complex structure of stolen bits and made up fragments, and the music kind of grows out of those pieces, and then either conforms or doesn't conform to fit the lyrics, and then you start to have to mash and juggle and fight and edit and squirrel things around until it feels like it's kind of a song, and then it's still not really done. It gets performed or recorded or whatever happens next, and then every single night that you play it, it kind of gets rewritten in a weird way, because you're not quite done with it. It's always something you're tinkering with, which is I love about songwriting and music, is that you never have to be done with it. You create it again every single time you play it, in some weird little sense of it. Gets changed or gets rewritten, and that's something that I hold really, really important to the way that I want to approach this. It's a living, unfinished. When a song is done, I honestly stop playing it. I've had songs that I've written and they felt really done. I felt like that's done. I can't do anything more with that. And then I've never played it again. There's like 4 songs that I've written that I think are really good, but I have never played them since I've kind of finished them. So.
And how about your books?
Yeah, that's a different. I'm not much of a writer. I sit down and write little. The short story author that I'm most taken with has been Raymond Carver, and the thing I love about Raymond Carver is that Carver's stories are mostly terrifying, but they're just little like pieces. They're snapshots of things that happened, or didn't happen, but they're just weird little snapshots, and that's what I love. So when I sit down and write kind of an essay form of some probably silly event that happened, walking the dog or doing something dumb that all of us do, and then I sit down and write about it, I don't understand why anybody would want to read it, but for me it's a fascinating exercise just to sit down and write about something that's so mundane and everyday, but that's the thing about life I like the best, is I like those mundane everyday moments, because those are the ones that just make a life, really. You get to go see the Grand Canyon once, and you go see it, and it's great, it's beautiful, but it's that like everyday weird little thing that you do, walking the dog, down this one certain street where you're going to see some other dog sitting there, and that's going to happen every day. It happens. And there's some kind of weird, like, meaningful piece of that I don't find when I go and view a monument or something like that, or do something gigantic, Then it's the same with music and shows. The shows that mean the most to me are the weird little, like, weekly things that I do that I just love, going to see the people that come every week. And then the big shows kind of come and go, but then you still got this little piece that you get to have all the time. And that's what the writing for me has kind of come back and back again to these little odd pieces that I like to obsess about.
And the name Dog for the album.
Yeah, well, I guess I was going to call it Dog for a long time, because the title track, Dog, is seemed to me to be a good kind of cornerstone, I guess, for lack of a better word, for the record. And then other songs came along that were also apparently about dogs. And then an artist from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Jay White, painted this beautiful painting of a dog here. And that just kind of, cinched it. There's a beautiful cover art for the dog. So it had to be called Dog at that point.
Who would you most like to collaborate with, and why?
Living or dead?
Up to you.
Well, I mean, people that I'm contemporary with, there's so many amazing musicians right now that I am completely taken with. The names that jump out at me are like Chuck Johnson from up near San Francisco, and Marisa Anderson. They're both guitarists, brilliant guitarists. I don't know how, collaboration is hard because I mostly all just play by myself all the time, and thinking about people like that I don't know if I fit in with them, but I feel really close to the kind of music that they make. If I could go back in history, I would probably try to collaborate with any number of old blues guitar players, or just sit there quietly and watch them play, most likely.
What are your interests and passions outside of music?
Well, I read a lot. I like art. I like to ride my bicycle. I like to do the things that I did when I was 14. I ride my bicycle and listen to records and play the guitar and read books and try to stay out of trouble. Sit quietly. That's a pastime.
What are your favorite books, film, and music right now?
Oh, lately I've been reading through Paul Bowles novels, which I think are also terrifying and amazing. And I'm on the third one right now, and that's been really, really good. I haven't really seen a lot of film. We just today we just went to Watts Towers, and that was amazing. I was really happy to be able to go visit that piece of art and look at that. So, it depends on where I travel so much now. Last year I did 272 shows, so it's a unique and kind of lucky position to be in. I find myself in parts of the country that have things that I just want to go and look at, like that, or like up, north you see the monuments that Dominic Gospodor built, and you can go see those things, and it's amazing and weird, and I do a lot of that kind of stuff when I find I have the time. But like I said, I'm in a pretty lucky position where I just drive around in the van and play the guitar and look at stuff.
So what's next, or where's next?
Well, after Los Angeles tonight, start heading back up the coast to Santa Cruz and San Francisco. A few days in Oregon at Eugene and Bend, and then continue up into Washington and Bellingham and Seattle, British Columbia a little bit, and then start kind of weaving my way back to home. I'll be back in Duluth for a few weeks, and then start going east from there. And then I'm down for a little bit of a break over the winter time, and then in February I head for Europe and do a little bit over there, and come back. And I suppose by that time it'll be time to start thinking about recording again if anybody wants to do that.